Welcome to Talkin Tuesdays, the original person behind the pit. I'm sure you all in here are looking forward to the featured special guest of the evening. If you can, go ahead and share this live, share the link, try to get some people in here if we can. And without further ado, our special guest is going to be added to the stream right now. Hey,
What's up?
what's up, dude? How's it going?
It's going good. Had a
Good,
little,
good.
little hard time getting connected here, but
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I noticed we were a little bit late, a couple seconds, but no worries. It was right down to the wire, right?
that's right.
All right, let me get this mic right here.
How's my voice coming across? Is it okay? Because I'm not
It's a little quiet, teeny bit quiet, but I think you're fine.
okay.
Let's ask the people in the chat. So do you see to your right? You see, I know you haven't done the StreamYard before. If you see to your right, you can see all of the comments.
I don't. Do I need to exit the full screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Okay. So those will be all our comments. If anybody has a question for you, like Blazing Star Barbecue right here says, "What's up, brother? Pop, pop."
What's up, Papa baby?
And I did the pink banners for you because I know you're doing the pink for this month, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Jeez, I don't know what's going on with this mic here. Sorry about that. We're both having technical difficulties.
I'm glad I'm here. We got it done in the last second. Otherwise,
Yeah, no joke. Like that was actually pretty good. So
Yeah.
let me I totally forgot to put this on there and everything else. There we go. Okay. So to the people that don't know you, I'm sure that's few and far between. But why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself? I'm going to feature you on the screen. You can tell us who you are, kind of where you are at this point, what you do, you know?
Sure. Well, my name is Dan Oliver. That's where the Dano comes from. I'm the
Dan
owner,
Oliver?
Dan Oliver. And so it's funny because I actually went by Danny for like 34 years of my life. And then when I had the epiphany moment and came up with Danos, a couple of years ago, I had to tell my family, don't call me Danny anymore. It's Dan because I started Danos. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm the owner, the founder of Dano Seasoning. Lived in Louisville, Kentucky my whole life. And I came up with I've always loved to cook. So I've always had a passion for cooking. And I had a seasoning blend that I had in my back pocket for like 15 years. Never even thought to package it as a product. And it wasn't until I was a bartender and looking to get out of that and change my life somehow. And brought chicken in one day that I used my special recipe on the same way I cooked chicken for 15 years. And the guy said, man, it's the best chicken I ever had in my life. He said, why aren't you selling it? And I was like, Danos. So I had to change my name to Dan.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's how that all came to be.
So dang, dude, I did not know that your last name about your last name. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, it
So
all makes sense. My dad always said, I gave you a good first name.
okay. So I know you're pretty new to what my Talking Tuesdays are.
Mhm.
It's titled The Original Person Behind the Pit. So in other words, it's about you. It's not about necessarily the barbecue, the seasonings. I mean, we all see your TikToks, we all see your Instagram videos, we all, but we never get to know who Dano is. We don't get to know the guy, who just had issues with the computer and is just like, I have no idea. We don't know, you grew up in Kentucky. So how was that? Let's start there. Like, so your age, how old are you?
40 years old.
Okay. So I'm 43. Welcome to the 40 club. It's
Right.
just downhill from here.
Yeah, you start to feel it.
Yeah, things start cracking and things stop working. So yeah. But so Kentucky. All right. So how was that like growing up?
Oh man, well, I grew up with. I got two older brothers that are 6 years and 9 years older than me, and then I also have two older stepbrothers and three older stepsisters.
Ooh.
So I was the youngest of all those, and to me, they were all my brothers and sisters growing up because my parents got divorced when I was like 5 years old. So
Wow.
me being a kid, I didn't know a difference between brothers and whatnot. Everybody was my brother and my
Right.
sister, and I was always, everything was always a competition, and that's what makes me super ultra competitive, and everything was always a competition for me. And so, I got two older real brothers that I'm super close with, and even my stepbrothers and stepsisters. And so, in Louisville, I don't know, it's probably not much different than any other state. It's just,
Well, so okay, so let's just say like, um, so you talked about your dad. So was your dad like this? Did you guys do cookouts like every weekend, or was it like, I don't know?
here's the funny thing is
Okay.
that out of all these people in my family, like everybody in my family is an entrepreneur of some sort. Everybody owns their own small business, like seriously. And I was the only one that didn't. And until like, 6 years ago, I was kind of like the black sheep. Like, what's Danny doing? How's he going? What's he doing? He's bartending. He hadn't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the question again?
So the cooking, like,
Oh, yes, yes.
growing up.
Sorry.
No,
So
no worries.
my dad, my mom, my stepdad, my stepmom, nobody was ever like a grill master or like this like big chef or anything like that. And really, I think that's really what inspired me being the young kid in the family. And every time, and, I'm sorry, mom, dad, anybody that listens to this, but it's kind of what inspired me to start adding like spices and everything to food because I remember every time we would have family dinner on Sunday, Saturday, Monday, whenever, it
Right.
was always like things were just like, shake and bake, green beans, like out of a can, shake and bake, and you just shook it. And like there was no like real like cooking process.
Right. Right.
Everything was
Right.
just kind of simple. So I was always like grabbing seasoning bottles and like adding this and adding that, grabbing Lowry seasoning salt, making everything salty, but it added more flavor. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just wanted to add more flavor to things. I, everything happens for a reason. From a young age, like I was meant to be a seasoning person because I
Yeah.
remember ever since I was like 5 years old, I was grabbing salt and pepper and this and that and just throwing it on things. So
So
it's not like anybody in my family, my dad or my mom or stepdad or anybody ever was like, oh, we're out there like grilling and smoking foods or briskets or anything like that. But
really,
yeah, I was never like that.
yeah, because I noticed what I do like about your content is you're not just trying to do the barbecue thing or the I don't know, the whatever other people do or like fancy cooking or whatever. You're throwing down what I think, just coming from like a viewer of your content. You're throwing down whatever you're eating that night. I mean, and I really like that, and I think that's what really resonates with the viewers is it's just an everyday kind of cook, like, oh, sweet, like the chicken thighs in the pan,
Right.
with that skin that you got on there. Oh man, that's cool. I could totally do that, that kind of thing.
Right.
I could completely relate. I'm Italian, full blooded, so I
Mhm.
grew up and everything kind of tasted the same, garlic or this or something with sauce or
Some
whatever.
bagel.
Right, and I have I grew up in couple different households, going from here to there, visiting the dad's family, visiting mom's, that kind of thing. And yeah, I won't sell anybody out, but some of the visits, it's like I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, growing up, like maybe seventh grade, I used to want to wake up and just make omelets and just douse it with anything I possibly could because I couldn't wait to add flavor to what I was eating. So
Right.
I completely relate to what you're to that story about like why you do that. And again, that really translates into what you do now, because it shows your passion. Like, you guys, like, if you're lacking some flavor, right here, pop, pop, pop,
I got
whatever.
it.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question real quick. What you drinking, bud?
Modelo.
Hey. Cheers.
Cheers,
And
my
cheers,
friend.
everyone. Yeah, the Roger here, he says is the type of guy that appeals to the masses. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a proven fact. I have to say that. So okay. So how about your first cook that you can remember that you did solo? What do you
Solo?
Yeah, something that you kind of did when you were younger that was like, oh, okay, I could do this.
Okay, well, this goes back to probably when I was in like 7th or 8th grade. When I remember this, I would go to my dad's house, which I only got to go there every other weekend. Like I said, my parents were divorced, and this was probably like 7th or 8th grade. And they would always have like shrimp in a bag, like frozen, like already pre-cooked shrimp, right? Well, I always used to remember, like, it'd be like 12 o'clock at night and everybody's already asleep and I'm like hungry. And I would be like cooking rice and throw these like already cooked shrimp, which you're not supposed to, when you cook shrimp, you want to use raw shrimp, but it was already cooked because that's just the way they bought it. Because like I said, my family wasn't really big into cooking. So they would buy the cooked shrimp and then cook it again. And it's like, that's not really how you do it. But, that's what I was raised around. So I just remember always grabbing these bags of shrimp and just hitting it with seasonings, like hitting it with like pepper and salt and Lowry's and all that stuff. And, it would always turn out salty because that's all we had in the cupboard was like salty seasonings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It never hit me till years down the road that like, why is everything so salty? Like it doesn't have to be. And that's when that's what Dano's is it's like, it's all the flavor without all the salt, but the right amount of salt.
What kind of salt do you use in your seasoning,
we
by the way?
use the real sea salt.
Okay.
It's real sea
Yeah,
salt. There's no anti-caking agents. It's totally unrefined sea salt.
Oh, Blazing Stars that saying, what, you're not drinking bourbon?
No, sir. Hey, I live in Kentucky, but I rarely drink bourbon. If I do, it's a special occasion.
All right. So inquiring minds want to know. I have to ask this before I forget. So about this arm wrestling competition that you were in recently at the Royal. So what happened, man?
You saw he raised his elbow right when I was trying to come back. He raised that elbow up. Hey, I wish Buddy was here watching this. He was like, "Oh yeah, whatever. I'll beat you again and again."
You didn't want to throw in the over the top, man?
Well, I kind of did. If you watch that, I was coming. Even Blazing Star saw it. And I was coming, and right when I was making my push, he raised his elbow, and then everybody's like, "Oh, elbow down." And you know what? I only got one good go because I used to be an arm wrestling champion. I say champion, but nobody could beat me. He was the same way. He was like, nobody can beat me, and I'm like, me too. But I only got one good go, and so that was my one good go. And he raised his arm right when I had my coming back at it. So we tried to go again, and I just didn't have it. But me and Buddy, we'll talk about that for years. And Mike was a witness. So
he's saying he's gonna go back to the tape there. He's got 3 videos, but I'm sure we got more videos of him dancing too, right? So okay. So growing up, lack of seasonings that helped you kind of develop what you're all about today.
Well, so, I can tell you exactly where I came up with the recipe if you want.
And there you go. That was actually literally my next question. You're awesome.
So I came up with the recipe. Let me give you a little flashback, like to when I went to college or went to high school. I went to like one of the best high schools in Louisville, Kentucky, Catholic all boys high school. I was gonna, it was in my mindset that I was gonna be this, NFL quarterback. Well, I wasn't allowed to play quarterback in high school. because I went to the best high school in the state of Kentucky, the number one school that wins state championship every year. And it was all politics. So I wasn't allowed to play quarterback. And so I kind of went down the other path. In like my junior year, I quit playing football, and everybody's like, why are you quitting? I'm like, well, if they're not going to let me play quarterback, I'm not playing. And I kind of went down the path of like not knowing what I was going to do. I graduated 244 out of 246 students. Like I really didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was I didn't go to school right out. Like I said, I graduated 244 out of 246. And so I was going to be a professional billiards player. I actually played the Black Widow on TV, and I played another guy, Cliff Joyner, number 3 in the world. I played this guy, took him to the final game, final ball. And then literally a week later, I got into a head-on collision when I was like 19 years old. Ooh. And it broke my finger. It broke this hand right here, it broke this bone in half, and then this finger was sticking out sideways.
Oh,
and it completely broke my bridge hand for billiards. So it was like that was a gift from God saying you're not meant to be a billiards player.
Right.
So I literally went through like 6 months of like not knowing what I was going to do with my life, didn't go to school, and then some friends grabbed me, some of my friends that I went to school with, and they're like, we got a spot down here at Royal Lexington at Lexington, Kentucky at UK. And they're like, you need to come down here, get in the community college and fill this spot that we have in the apartment. And I was like, that's what I need to do. And so I literally bought a car for $100, and I went down there and I applied myself. And I got on the dean's list and all this, and I was like, I'm going to apply myself and like do something with my life. Mm-hmm. And I turned my life around. Seriously, I did, because I was in a really bad spot at that point. And I remember it was about 2:00 in the morning, super drunk, yeah. And it was about 2:00 in the morning, and all I had in the freezer was some bone-in, skin-on chicken breast that my mom had sent me from months ago. It was the only thing we had. Like there was nothing in the fridge or freezer.
And they were not pre-cooked.
Maybe, yeah, right. Maybe we had like a can of green beans. And I remember this like it was yesterday. And my buddy was like, thaw that shit out. I'll show you what to do with it. And so we literally thawed this bone-in, skin-on chicken out. And like I said, I always used to like to add flavors and play around with seasonings and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't the person when I'm 19, 20 years old, I wasn't used to bone-in, skin-on. I was always used to like boneless, skinless.
Right.
Because I was raised the kind of a shelter life when it came to cooking. You know what I mean? I wasn't experienced all this stuff. And so he's like, thaw that out. And so we thawed it out. And this dude, he literally, like a good friend of mine, and he literally started grabbing all these herbs and spices, like literally the little turnabout spice rack that you have with all the herbs and spices. Like he just started dumping things on there, and we cooked that chicken, and it was good. I was like, wow. I was like, I've been missing out on this. So literally it was like the next day, this is where I came up with the recipe. The next day, I went to Winn-Dixie across the street, and I went and got some more bone-in, skin-on chicken, because I was like, if that dude did it, and it was that good, I'm going to start playing around with this, because that was some good chicken. And so I literally started playing around with that spice rack, and I was like, grab the Lowry seasoning salt, grab the rosemary, grab this, grab that, grab this, and some other stuff, and throw it in there. And after like 2 or 3 times of doing it, it was literally, I remember probably within like 2 or 3 weeks, I kept going grabbing these bone-in, skin on chicken thigh wings or breast, and I'll be like, y'all need to try this out. Y'all need to try this out. And like I got this recipe like keyed in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the dude showed me the recipe. He showed me the concept of just like throwing all these spices.
Right.
And I came up with the recipe. And then, so it was literally, that's how I came up with the recipe. And so literally for probably like 14, 15 years, anytime I would go hang out with people, if I knew that like we needed to cook something at an event or something, I'd be like, I got the seasoning. Let me do it. Let me do this chicken for y'all. You know what I mean? And every time I would do it, people would be like, holy shit, this is the best chicken I ever had in my life.
Right.
And so I just knew how to make a good chicken seasoning. Never thought for a second
it was good on anything else.
Yeah. Never thought for a second that it was good on anything else. Never thought for a second to package it as a product. Never even crossed my mind. But I will tell you this, anybody that knows me from back in the day, they've always been like, dude, if you ever find an idea, like you're going to blow it up because you're just like this idea person. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I'm always talking like ideas and like future and like what you can do with something. I always had
Right.
big ideas, but all my ideas cost millions of dollars, and I never had $1 million. So I didn't,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
I
what are
know
you
that.
going to do with $1 million idea if you don't have $1 million?
Right.
So it was literally, we'll flash forward to, I was in school at the time. I'm giving you the whole rundown of my life, man.
Please. This is what this is about, man.
So I was in school, and like I said, I was really applying myself, was on the dean's list for like 2 straight years. And then my brother was being super successful.
So
And
there was a question. Was it Trinity?
yeah, I went to Trinity. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we got Steph in here. She's on Instagram as the Culinary Deviant, and she is a Kentucky native. So she was asking that question. But go ahead, go ahead.
Trinity High School. I was born and raised in Louisville.
Okay,
So
all right.
went to Goshen Elementary, 1st through 5th grade, then South Odom in 6th grade, and then I transferred to public schools in Jefferson County and went to private schools, and then went to Trinity High School.
Wow. Okay.
So basically, I applied myself in college, and I was like, I'm gonna do something with my life. I'm gonna really apply myself, because I was lost. And it was literally like I was talking to my brother. He was being super successful in the insurance business.
Oh wow.
Like I said, my whole family was entrepreneurs, all in like financial planning, insurance business, life insurance, and stuff like that. So I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. My whole family does it.
Right.
And so I literally, like, even though I was applying myself and I was on the dean's list, I was still on like the 6-year, 7-year program to graduate college, because that's how far I was behind from what I applied myself in high school.
Okay.
So I was like, well, why am I going to go to 4 more years of school when I can drop out now and go back and start making money? Like, all my buddies can keep going to school, and I'm going to beat them to the punch. I'm going to start making money before they do.
Okay.
And so I went back and, dropped out of school to come back. And yeah, it's a true story. And I came back to work in the insurance business because my brother was killing it. And he was like, oh, I write 9 out of 10 people that I quote and whatnot. And, I'm making really good money. And so I was like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
And so I came back, and it was just the wrong time. It was like 2001. It was right when the whole insurance market was super competitive, and you couldn't save anybody money.
Yeah.
This whole insurance thing, that all the markets just got super competitive. And I quote 10 people. I was really good on the phone. I was good at talking to people and getting them to give me their information to get them a quote, but I couldn't save them money.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you can't save them money, you're not getting their business.
Yeah.
So, and when it comes to insurance, but so I did that for 2 years, quit that. Then I got this awesome job in with these engineers that could repair any sort of electronic equipment. I'm talking like manufacturing, like CNC equipment, like spindle drives, servo drives, circuit boards, all that stuff. I was so fascinated by it. I used to watch like how it's made every day. And I was so fascinated by this stuff. And I interviewed with these guys, and they were just starting their business. And there was 3 Ukrainian engineers that couldn't speak very good English, and they needed a dude that could communicate to people. And I'm like, look, I know I'm young, but I'm fascinated by this. And if you give me the opportunity, I will grow your business. And they gave me the sales job. And I literally started like just going like door to door, like knocking on these doors on big manufacturers. And I learned manufacturing. I got to go in and like tour these plants, whether they're making steel or making pencils, or, like a reading rainbow. Like I was touring these facilities, learning this business. So that gave me a background in manufacturing, which to this day comes into effect because now we're into manufacturing. So I have a background in it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So anyways, let's flash forward. So I did that for 5 years. I lost my job. And what I did after that is I was like, I don't want to work in the corporate world anymore. Like I said, I was always like this confused guy. Like I didn't go to school after high school. I was going to be a professional billiards player. And then my finger gets jacked in half. And that was God saying, that's not what you're meant to do.
Right.
And so I went to school. I applied myself. Then I was in insurance. And then the insurance just didn't pan out. And I ended up, I was like, I applied myself 100%, but it didn't work. So I did this manufacturing thing, and then that didn't work. It fell through. And I was like, I want to go be a bartender. I like to drink. I like to hang out with people. I like hanging out at the bar. I want to go be a bartender.
Sounds fair.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I went to the bar where I used to hang out all the time, and I knew these guys made like $300, $400, $500 a night. And I was like, Jared, he's a friend of mine. If you've seen some of my videos on YouTube and stuff, he's the guy that he uses my product, and he's got like 4 or 5 restaurants now, and he uses my product in his restaurants. But he was the guy that hired me, and he was like, man, I'd love to get you on here and maybe even as a bar back, but I just don't have any opportunity right now. And I was like, what about the kitchen? I love to cook. And he's like, you really? Because he knew that I came from like a manufacturing job. I was making really good money. And but I love to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, what about the kitchen? He was like, you want to work in the kitchen? You got it, brother. And I was like, okay, sign me up. And he's like, well, show up tomorrow. And so I showed up, and I cooked in the kitchen for literally like 6 months, and I moved my way into bartending, picked up a day shift here, a day shift there.
Right.
Then they were like, man, he really is a good bartender.
Uh-huh.
Then after like 6 months of doing that, and when I was in the kitchen, they used to let me do specials because it was a pool hall, a billiards hall. So they had pool tournaments and pool leagues like almost every night. So I would do these specials every night, and people would be like, oh, what's Danny cooking? It wasn't Danny.
Nice.
Oh, it's like, what's Danny cooking tonight? And they're like, oh, he's doing his special chicken. And we would sell out in an hour.
Nice.
Everybody knew how good that chicken was. They're like, oh, it's all off the bone. It's great.
And that was with that recipe that you were doing. Okay.
But never called Dano's.
Right.
Never even crossed my mind at the time.
Hey, I'm just glad. Let's just interrupt that story real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you chose Dano's. It's not like Danny Boys, because that would just, I don't think it would would do well.
Right. Well, it hit me like a ton of bricks when it happened, man.
But that's a good one. It's a good one. So all right, go ahead. So specials, selling out.
Yeah. Every time I make a special, everybody wanted to know what I was cooking. What was Danny cooking? Not Dan or Dano. It was, I had friends that called me Dano, but it was still never a thing. It was what's Danny cooking? And my whole goal was to get out of that kitchen. I was making $10 an hour, going through my like IRA that I had saved up. Just to get to where I could bartend, to do what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And then once I started getting these bartending shifts, I made like double the money. And then I got into the night bartending shifts once they respected me and gave me those opportunities. And I'm working Friday and Saturday every night. Hell, I remember I was making like $1,500 to $2,000 a week, working like three or four shifts.
Heck yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was really good at bartending because I was always a creative mind coming up with, hey, try this, try this.
Sounds like you miss it.
Hey, I still like to make drinks, man.
Okay.
But what really got old after about 3 years of doing that, I was like, man, I was getting burnt out because in Louisville, Kentucky, our bars stay open until 4 a.m.
Whoa.
Yeah, most cities are like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4. So literally,
God,
I was not getting home till like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And so my life back then I was a vampire. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was awake at night and sleep during the day.
Yeah.
And after like a few years of doing it, I just really, I started thinking, I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? Like, I need to, I've always had this business mindset. Like, I understand people, I understand things. Every business I ever worked in, even back to the insurance, back to the manufacturing engineers, and even the bar I worked at, I always had these great ideas to tell these bosses, like, hey, you need to do this to like create sales and like do this and do this. But nobody ever listens to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, dude, I'm giving them great ideas, but nobody wants to listen. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I need to own my own business one day to where I don't have to just have ideas, own my own business, and I can implement my own ideas. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it was literally after like 3-4 years there bartending, thinking every day, how am I going to get out of here? And I got these $1 million ideas, but I don't have $1 million. And it was literally, I had brought in a bunch of chicken breasts one day that I made with my seasoning, and this girl was like, "Oh, how'd you make that?" And I literally like told her the recipe. You know what I mean? I'm like, use this, 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 and this, mix it up in a mortar and pestle, put it on some chicken, you're good. And so she thinks she has the recipe, but it's been modified since then.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, that's all it was, man. It was just me taking my spices and putting it in a mortar and pestle and grinding it up and putting on some chicken and putting a bunch of it on there and making it taste good, better than it's supposed to taste. You know what I mean? And it was literally after doing that a couple times, and like I had people being like, "Oh, what'd you put on that? Bring me some of that in." And I think I brought in like a bag of the seasoning one day and gave it to a couple people. I'm like, "Here you go." Still not thinking Danos. I'm over here thinking disposable toothbrush ideas. These this vitamin elixir that can make your immune system on level 10. All these different things, but I wasn't thinking seasoning. And it wasn't until the one day that I brought in this whole bone in. It was the first time I brought in like a whole roasted like chicken.
Oh wow.
And so I brought it in. Well, I would come in at 5 o'clock on a Monday. Well, usually there's nobody there at 5 o'clock on Monday. Well, there wasn't anybody there. There was a shift change. The daytime bartender was like, "See ya." And I walked in and I had this whole chicken set up behind the bar. And there's one dude there. He wasn't drinking. He was waiting to play some billiards with somebody for some money.
Okay.
I knew the guy. And I was like, "Dude," I was like, "Are you hungry?" He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What you got?" I'm like, "Well, I got this whole chicken I just made. You want some?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I literally like cut this whole chicken in half and gave
Right.
him a whole half of this like rotisserie chicken that I had baked. And he took one bite. I remember it like it was yesterday, dude. It was 5/15 on a Monday, January 2015. He took one bite of this chicken, and I remember he looked down at the chicken. I hope I can cuss on here because I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said.
Okay.
He took one bite of this chicken and he looked down at it and he looked up at me because I was like waiting to see his reaction. And he looked up at me and he said, "Dude, this is the best fucking chicken I've ever had in my life." He said, "Why aren't you selling this?" And I was like, at that moment, dude, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Cause like I said, I'm always a thinker. And I was like, "I'll call it Dano's." And so
Nice.
I literally seriously worked all night because that was at 5 o'clock on a 12-hour shift. Our shifts are 5 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. We really don't get home till 6. And it was like I had to work all night long thinking about how can I start this seasoning business.
Okay.
And I couldn't use my phone or nothing. So I couldn't wait to get home, to get in my bed and get on Google and get on YouTube to be like, how you start a seasoning business.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And I figured it out. And then I started reaching out to other seasoning companies trying to get help. And, this was over like 6-8 month process. And like nobody would really help me. And that's why I've helped people in the seasoning business because I'm like, you know what, if you want to do it, do it. And I'll help you. But, I can give you the advice, all the advice you need, but doing it and thinking you're going to do it's two different things because it's not easy.
And it's work.
Oh yeah, it's a grind, dude. I mean, think how many bottles you got to sell at $6-7 to make
to start making money. Yeah. To actually like pay yourself and not just pay for the next bottle that's coming out.
Exactly.
Totally. Okay. Wow. So okay. So you started Danos. About what year was that?
Well, the dude tried the chicken like January 2015.
Okay. So 2015.
Yeah, and here comes.
Well, because we all have heard the usual Dano's story type of, okay, we started doing this and then we would go to these trade shows or whatever. You got your buddy Toothpick Timmy, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Sorry. The only reason why I know that is Blazing Star always tries to call me. Tell me I'm his
you're his Toothpick Timmy.
So that's just funny. So you guys were, you were doing these shows, right? You were going and selling stuff, and then COVID hit, and then you guys were like, and then you started you started more doing the TikTok things and looking into that. So let's transfer from, we obviously know your business is successful, right? So how did you start this TikTok thing? I mean, I'm 43. you're 40. I can't stand TikTok. I'm going to be quite honest with you. We didn't grow up with that kind of stuff. It was like we had to work, we had to make phone calls, or whatever to get the word out. And for me, this TikTok thing is still pretty new for me. So how did you go, hey, you know what? This is good. Like, and then just start doing it. Like, what was your first video that went viral that you were like, oh, this is it?
My first, there's a lot of
A
pre-story
lot of
too.
in between.
Yes, but to answer your question, my first viral like kind of video that I was like, okay, this is where it's at, was a crab cake video that I did. I had lump crab in a can. Then I made crab cakes with it using Danos, and it got everybody from Maryland all upset. I remember seeing the comments. They're like, "Everybody from Maryland just hates you," or
Oh
everybody from
God.
Maryland's like throwing
That's
up in their
horrible.
mouth. And where's the old bay at? Danos crap, all those types of comments. But I saw the needle move in sales, because let me go back to before the first TikTok like viral video.
Okay.
Let me go back all the way back. Let's flash back to 2015 when the
Okay.
idea happened, and then I started the business April 13th, 2015, and then
Wow.
I didn't even get it into a package until August of 2016. So
I just sold it in Ziplocs.
I didn't even sell it. I started the business in April
Nice.
2015, didn't sell anything till August 2016. I
Wow.
didn't know that when you started a business, even if you don't sell anything, you have to pay taxes. I
Mm.
pay $175 business tax on something I never even sold.
Yeah.
So my first year of business, I lost $175.
Dang.
Yeah, just for registering the business.
Yeah.
So then flash forward to 2017, I packaged the product. And then like there was a few things that I noticed wasn't exactly right. Plus my packaging just looked too like farmer's market-ish. So I spent all this time, another 8 months, repackaging it. We could get into that whole story why I did the repackage, but we'll save some time here.
Oh,
But
no worries.
well, when I had the original package, I went out to like farm or like this first little grocery store that I had, and people would be like, "Oh, well, it's too expensive," and blah 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 and blah. Oh, I had a pinch of sugar in it, which was literally a pinch, and so people wouldn't buy it for certain reasons. So I was like, I need to get it to a smaller product, a better price point, and take this sugar out, and then it's ready. And it took me 8 months to get there. So I originally, really, my business started on June 1st, 2017 is where I
Wow.
got it to like the package you see today.
Okay.
And that was when I went and did my first flea market.
Uh-huh.
I went and did my first flea market on just after June 1st, 2017. And I was hoping to do like $1,000 in sales, and I did like $3,300. And I was like, okay,
Yeah. Here it
flea
is.
market is where it's at.
Yeah.
So I literally I was like, okay, I need to find any flea market, any big sort of like festival events where I can go be in front of thousands of people and sell my product.
Right. Right.
So that's what I did is I found the next show I did was the state fair, and then the Kentucky State Fair, and I sold like $9,000. And then I did another flea
Holy crap.
market and sold like another like $5,000. And so then I eventually quit my job as bartending because I was still bartending at the time just to make ends meet. But once I realized that these flea markets and these state fairs and these hunting shows and stuff like that, that I
Right.
could not only pay my bills, but put a little money in my pocket as I'm doing it and then reinvest into my business, because everything went back into my business, every dollar I made. And so, but I was able to survive off, just a few $100 and stuff. So I was literally grinding for years. Like 2017, I think my sales were $40,000. And this is all basically from like traveling the country. And then
Right.
2018, I did like $120,000. And then 2020, I did like $220,000. And then I really had a grasp on all these shows and everything. So my goal in 2020, pre-COVID, was to do $500,000.
Okay.
And I had online sales moving a little bit, and
Nice.
I would do YouTube videos, and I would do some Facebook and Instagram, but there was TikTok didn't exist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So basically, come March 2020, I was already at like $120,000. Like I was 2 months into 2020 and was killing it, like at these shows and stuff, because the word was getting out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People were like, "Oh, somebody turned me on to this," or "I've seen a video," and you know, the little social media that I did was working, and it was working. Every video, every place we would go, we would literally like
Uh-huh.
almost sell out, and things were just popping. And then COVID hit. And so
Ouch.
that's when literally I told Toothpick Timmy, I was like, dude, I was like, you're going to have to find a job, because I paid him as an independent contractor. He traveled the country with me, and I love him like a brother, but I couldn't afford to like pay him for, if there's no revenue coming in, there's no way I can pay him. And I told him that. I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
And so that in March 2020, I remember listening to Gary Vandercheck.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He was saying, if you have a food, or not a food product, but if you have a product that you're trying to sell to people and you're not on
And
TikTok,
you're not on, yeah, yeah.
you're dropping
If
the
you're not
ball.
on LinkedIn, if you're not on whatever, yeah.
Well, he was saying at the time, he was saying, if you're not on TikTok,
Uh-huh.
you're dropping the ball. He was like, Instagram was 2012, 2013. He said, right now in 2020, if you're not on TikTok and you have a product, you're dropping the ball. And so I was like, well, I don't have any other options. You know, I have a business. I
Right.
just put in my biggest order ever. So I'm literally flat broke, because I
Oh,
literally had like $50,000 tied up in inventory.
yeah.
But the good thing was I need to figure out how to sell it. And so I literally remember going to the grocery store and buying enough ingredients to make like 5 recipes, and buying a 12-pack of beer, and buying a bottle of tequila and some, you know, mix to make some margaritas. And I'd be like, I go home and like some of my TikToks, I'd be a little tipsy. People remember my original TikToks. I'd be a little tipsy.
I heard about that.
Yeah. And people would be like, where's the drunk Dano video? And it's like, you
Yeah.
know what? I did that because I was grinding. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right, right, right.
My goal in March 2020 was to do $200 in sales a day, right? And I could make this thing survive. And it was literally like towards the end of March, like I was doing like 2, 3, maybe 400 a day. And then I had that like viral video with like the crab cakes, and all of a sudden one day it was like $600. And I was like, oh, I need to keep like offending people, like do something that's like making people like question what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Some
And I don't
controversy.
know. Yeah, exactly. Create controversy, create interaction, and then my videos will get more
Yes.
comments. And so what actually happened is, at first I was getting a lot of negative comments on TikTok. And I just kept grinding, kept posting, and sales kept going up, 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 up. You know, the needle kept moving. And then all these comments started to turn like, oh, you know, when he says it's dang good, it really is. And like all these
Nice.
negatives, like where I was getting like 50-50, it all of a sudden became like 90-10. And it was like 90% of the people were,
Right. People
oh, yeah,
started really, yeah, okay.
they're like, it really is good. Like, yeah, you might use a lot and he might be silly, but it really is good. Like, I bought
Right.
a bottle and you should try it.
Yes.
And so that was really like, I mean, sales went from like $200 a day to like $5,000 a day in literally like a couple months.
Dang, bro.
And then that's when I partnered with a marketing company, because it wasn't about me. My mission from the beginning was to change the world. Like, I want to be in every grocery store.
Yeah.
I just
Right.
make money off selling Danos. I want to build an empire.
Nice.
That's where I invested, not invested, but I gave up half my equity in the business
Dang.
to partner with a marketing company that could take me to the next level. And that's what we're doing now. And that's what you see today. Like, we have almost 50 team members now that work for Danos. And that's because we put it all back into the business. Like, I could be a millionaire right now, but I'm not, because I put it all back into the business.
Wow. I like that you put it back into the business to make it stronger, you know, not not to be selfish, but to be, obviously, you're in it for the long run, but you did it to make things better, or whatever, as opposed to just make your life better.
I've always wanted to change other people's lives. It's not
Yes.
changing my life. And so
Right.
it's kind of always, like I said, I've always been a competitor. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, where I was raised with older brothers and sisters, everything's always been a competition, but it's not always about me winning. It's about almost like, what can you do for others? You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like we built a team, and the guy I partnered with, Phil Crosby of Crosby Interactive, you can look them up. Dude, he thinks exactly the way I do. He's not a greedy person. He doesn't have kids. I don't have kids. Actually, I have 2 kids, original and spicy. One's green, one's red. They're about
Bro,
6.
hey, if you end up having kids, dude, you really seriously have to name them original and spicy, bro. Because I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Or if you just get dogs or something, just original and
Right.
spicy.
Well, I've been talking about getting 2 little
Yeah.
chihuahuas and putting them on the table when I'm cooking, and calling a boy and a girl, and one of them's little D, and the other one's little D's the boy, and what's the other one? I haven't.
Drew
I'll
Blank.
tell you in a second.
Blazing Star says, I thought your third kid was named Reaper.
My third kid's going to be named Chipotle.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Coming out. I
So,
love Mike, dude. Me and Mike's had some good times. We've got to hang out twice.
absolutely. And
Awesome.
that is one thing I really do respect about you and Mike as well, is just, he says this one thing, and I think you can agree. It's not just about himself or your brand or whatever. It's about just being on. He says, I just want to be on the shelf with everybody else. The company, anyways. So that makes I think that where am I going with this? I think you feel the same way in that way. Like, you're not just saying Dano's is the best thing ever and no one else should ever share in this seasoning game because I'm the best.
No.
You're saying this is Dan good, but other people have their place too, right? Like, I mean,
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong. Like, a part of my marketing is like, this is the best Dan seasoning, and I think I make the best seasoning for being
right.
natural, no sugar,
You
no.
have to, though, but you have to, at a point, you have to feel that yours
Right.
is the best, or you wouldn't put it out there.
Right. Well, exactly. But it's not, go back to, like I told you, I'm a super competitor. I'm always
Yes,
going to be a
absolutely.
competitor. But I love Mike. And like, it's like, I want him to succeed. He'll tell you, like, I've had plenty of conversations with him where I've told him information that I wouldn't tell most people. You know what I mean? Actually, I tell a lot of people things because I'm like, I'm an open door, man. I'm like, I try and be transparent with people. I'm not hiding anything.
Mhm.
I know when I reached out and I started my seasoning company and I wanted to do this and that and the other, I couldn't get anybody to help me. And now that I'm successful, it like makes me like super appreciate being able to help other people.
All right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So we have 10 minutes to go for the first hour. So I say first hour. You're probably like, oh my god. So what we do is, I used to do this show, the first hour of the Talking Tuesdays, on Instagram Live.
Mm.
And then we would have a little after party, which is less formal. We can have other people in. We just chit chat and kind of BS and do whatever. But I still do the after party, and I always want to invite the guests to come on to the Instagram for the after party live. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. All right. This way, it's less formal. We don't save it. It's not up there. Oftentimes, Kendrick Barbecue will come in. Blazing Stars, he's got a spot in there, so you guys can chat it up. That kind of thing. So,
Are we
it's
still
just,
on camera at that point?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And like I said, it's a live, and and it's just it's a little informal. But with that said, so 10 minutes left. Future Danos, what's that look like, man? I mean, you're the stock guy, so I know you got a lot up there. Let's just say in the next couple years, man, where do you see yourself?
Well, I've always seen it as I've got so many other product ideas in my mind to build off of Dano's and not necessarily be a seasoning company, even though my next product is going to be another seasoning.
Hey.
I don't want to be a Dano's. I got 10 different blends. It's about taking that Dano's flavor, the foundation that I've built. I've been building a foundation for 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Of this two recipes, this flavor that people know and love. So if I can take that flavor and add it into other products, like value added products, like think if I did like pre-pattied burgers with Dano's already in it, and
Hey.
we got Dan Good burgers. So pre-pattied, value added. Because here's the bottom line: when you look at somebody that goes to the grocery store, they got $100 bill in their pocket. Less than 1% of their spend goes to seasoning, but yet 30% goes to meats. So if you can put an awesome product that I built the foundation upon into these products that they're going to spend more money on,
Right.
it's about making more money off of it. But to have this business that we're being successful and
About
creating
adjusting for the customer. Yeah.
right, creating more jobs, creating more better products, and creating more revenue so we can continue to build the business. So it's like creating these other awesome products that have Dano's included in it, value added products, not necessarily being a seasoning company and having 10 different seasonings. We're going to have the Chipotle, and we may have one or two other seasonings, but other than that, don't look for much more. It's going to be the Dano's flavor that we put into value added products.
Okay. So any hints on the
Oh yeah, we got we got the Chipotle's dropping in December.
uh-huh.
That's a huge launch. We got over $1 million invested into it. And then we have a pizza topping.
What?
Yeah. It's like a Dano's with Dano's. Yeah, it's a pizza
Hey,
topping coming out.
quick question. It's just off the top of my head. My buddy Dancy Bearded is in here. He has celiac disease severely. Are your seasonings gluten
Yes.
free?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And they will all continue to be?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay.
maybe not every single product, but for the most part, we're never, Dano's slogan is low sodium, all natural, no sugar, no chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
We're also working on a beef jerky that you may see in the next 6 months. But is it going to be a low sodium beef jerky? No, because it really doesn't exist. You have to, you have,
Yeah.
you have, you have,
Yeah.
you have to cure.
Yes.
And it can't be no sugar either. It can't be low sodium, no sugar, because you have to cure beef one or two ways, salt or sugar.
Right. Absolutely.
We just want to put that dang good flavor that people love into the beef jerky and give them that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But it'll be as healthy as we can be without
right.
being all the, pre-added stuff.
So I'm getting Blazing Star in here saying maybe he wants a collab, saying
Blazing
the
Dan.
Blazing Dan mix, huh?
Hey, I told him he should talk to us.
Yeah.
Well,
That would be killer, dude. That would be killer.
maybe we acquire Blazing Star and we do something together. Because hey, dude,
The
I'm telling
Blazing
you,
Dano.
when I tell you, like I literally gave up half of my business. I was on the right path. I was going to be successful. Like TikTok was making that all come through for me. I was going to be successful, but my vision was to change the world, and so I chose to give up all that equity because you're not going to get what you would get out of another entrepreneur unless they have a piece of the pie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yep.
Otherwise, you just get limited effort. So I literally, if you don't make it good for somebody, they're not going to go all in with you. And so I made it to where I have somebody else that's all in with me, and that's why you see this massive marketing efforts behind Dano's is because we're all in.
Huh.
That makes sense.
Like that. Oh, that makes dollars, my friend.
Hey.
Oh man. So yeah, dude, you're everywhere. Your stuff is everywhere. Like without a doubt. I can't turn around without seeing someone, oh look, there's Dano's, whatever on their videos or whatever in the background, anything like that. So I mean, kudos to you, man,
Thank you.
for doing all this stuff, and just um, like you said, it's a grind, and I'm really glad that there's people like you in this business, um, that continue to just work and not worry about the drama about everything, but just that's it. You're concerned about you, and I like that. Dang, Blazing Star says, you're a big time when you hit NASCAR. So I'm missing a story here. So let's finish off with this story.
What, the NASCAR?
Yeah.
We sponsored the NASCAR last year and this year.
Okay. How did that come about?
Basically, Spencer Boyd, and now when we say NASCAR, it's Truck Series. So
Okay.
it takes $1 million to sponsor an actual Cup Series.
Yeah.
$1 million for one race.
Yeah. Not okay.
The truck series is not close to that. We had a Super Bowl commercial last year. And
What?
was like, oh my gosh, like you're blown up like that. You know how much it costs for a local Super Bowl commercial for 15 seconds? Take
Yeah.
take
A
a guess.
grip. What,
Take a
like,
guess.
I want to say 500
500 what?
thousand?
No. Like,
Like two
I
two
mean,
million from what I know.
I think it was like $8,000.
Okay, that's
It's
not bad.
just local. It's not nationwide.
Okay, yeah. Not
Plus, it's
nationwide. Okay.
Louisville's not this like huge. Louisville's not like New York City. Louisville's not like Houston, Texas. Louisville is a small like town, but
Right.
big. And so we're only broadcasting it out to like
Oh shoot. So
400,000 people.
we got a listener in here that saw that specific commercial.
Yeah,
So
but
that's awesome.
it wasn't nationwide. It was
Okay.
totally regional, and that's the only reason we could afford to do it, because we were like, man, can we afford to spend $8,000 on 15 seconds? And we're like, yes, it'll be epic. Like we can say we did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what it was all about. It was literally like $7,000-8,000 down the drain. It was actually probably more than that, because we had to hire the camera guy and all that. We got all our time included. It was probably $12,000 for a 15-second commercial.
Oh gosh.
Day. But how cool is it? You know what I mean? We can say we did. And then now this year we want to do 30 seconds and we want to step it up. It's always about, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. Yeah.
We're being successful, but we also spend all of our money into marketing to let people know that we're bigger than maybe what we really are. You know what I mean? Are we doing great? Yeah, we're doing awesome. But we spend money. Because look at us like the Yeti or like the Red Bull, like Dano's. That's what we're trying to mimic. We're trying to be like that it brand of seasoning. We're trying to spend all our money into letting people see that we try and go harder than any other seasoning company. I love you though, Mike.
We'll definitely touch on that in the after party, dude. I have to say, to end this first hour, I'm so honored that you even thought about coming on my my live show. It's not for me. I really did start this show for everyone to get to know, again, the person behind the pit, and really not just the pit, but behind the account, behind the TikToks, behind the food stuff, who we are, and just to kind of better relate to you, in a way that, let's just say like Malcolm Reed, we all look up to him and say, oh my gosh, this guy, but he's just like me and you, like, but
Absolutely.
he works hard, and he's great at what he does. And I don't want people to feel like that person is unreachable. I want us to all feel like it's a community, and and we all help each other. But anyways, I do have to say thank you, so much for coming on here.
Love
Yeah,
it.
so
Thanks
we're
for
gonna
having
go. Yeah, dude. I was nervous. I was nervous at the start. I'm actually kind of glad you had problems and you called me, because I was like, all right, cool, cool, cool. Like, I'm not as nervous now. So,
me.
but we'll end this one and we'll go ahead and go on the after party in Instagram. Have you before hang when I end this broadcast, hang out with me and we'll chit chat for a minute outside of this live and all that. So with that said, uh anyways, so hold on real quick. Blazing Star says, "Oh yeah, I got 100 million Shiba I am sitting on." I don't know.
I got 1.5 million, Mike.
uh, oh, you
Oh,
guys,
Mike's a good dude.
you guys are
Seriously.
ridiculous.
I got
So
what my brother told me about the other day. He's like, you can get it on Coinbase. I was like, I'm in.
yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate it. And I tell you what, we did get to learn a lot more about who you are, kind of where you came from, and just a little different kind of story about your business. So anyone out there, go ahead, Dano Seasoning, dude, jump on that. And
Man, I'm growing a mullet out.
oh, dude, that's the skullet though, bro. That's the skullet.
Like, you gotta start somewhere.
Yes, dude, that is awesome. You got to keep it
Growing
going,
it
man.
out.
You got to get it going.
I'm
I
rolling.
love it. I love it.
Rolling.
All right, man. Well, yeah, and Blazing Star says I learned even more than I already knew. So that's awesome, and that's kind of my goal. And we'll have a good time. So everybody, thank you for joining in. I appreciate you. Yeah, hit the thumbs up before you leave. Go ahead and subscribe. Tell all your friends about me. All right. Have a good night.